Yes, welcome to the Sports Nation TV, and this is the latest episode of the Inbound Show, where we talk nothing but local basketball. And I am your usual host, Brian Kawalya. Basketball in Uganda has come a long way, but earlier this week there are some exciting news off court when Bet Power, who also doubles as our sponsor on the Sports Nation, unveiled a big package or that partnership with Federation of Uganda Basketball Association FUBA, where they injected 2.6 billion to sponsor the national teams. That is the Gazelles, the women, and Silverbacks, the men's teams. That 2.6 billion for 3 years, and for the first time I think since around 1960 something, since FUBA got affiliated to the National Council of Sports. Despite all the achievements the two national teams have managed to achieve, they have not had any sponsor. So Bet Power coming on board as the first sponsor ever and coming with such huge sums of money, I think good exciting times, and I think I can speak with authority. Later next week, early or maybe around Friday or Thursday, FUBA will be unveiling another sponsor for the National Basketball League. Some of you are hearing it for the first time, but if you've been watching the basketball for the past 5 or 6 days, you'll know, you will have noticed some sponsor around. But our main focus is not going to be around money. We are going to be focusing on the National Basketball League, specifically the women. That is the NBL, Women National Basketball League. The first round is nearing its climax. I think around 5 teams have played about 10 games, so they are 1 game away from concluding the first round. So we want to look back and reflect the run so far. And I'm not going to be doing by my colleague Franklin Kaweru of Kawo Sport. He's an expert, not in playing, but he has watched the league for quite some good time. Like I said, he's an editor of Kawo Sports. Franklin Kaweru, good to have you back here on the show.
Thank you, Brian. Good to be back as well.
Why did you start laughing when I say that you're an expert of court?
I think you now also become an expert in misleading people and misinforming them about my
what's your CV
my
like?
abilities.
What's your CV like playing?
My CV is good enough. It's good enough. It's not as good as, of course, the basketballers in the country, or the top basketballers in the country, but it's good enough. At least better than yours. Not just better, but extremely much better than yours.
If you're not registered anywhere in the books of whether you played somewhere, maybe you played that back then in the schools, but not this big competition as well. But Franklin, today you're talking about the National Basketball League, with much focus on the women's side. For starters, maybe we all know, I don't know if you'll agree with me, I feel that it's more competitive than the men's side. Is it something, before we go on, that you completely agree with me?
When I think when you talk competitive, that is a bit of a stretch to say it is more competitive than the men's division. I think there are more stronger teams, if you want to say. Even the men's division has pretty much the same thing, much as Oil dominates when it comes to the championship round, but the top 4 are pretty much too strong compared to the rest of the crop, and it's no different in the women's league. Once you go past say JKL, UCU, KIU, and then I mean KCC has stepped up this season. The rest of the teams in the division are not as strong as that. I know you want to depend on what Miracle pulled off, which was a miracle, of course. And then you also want to depend on some games that Magic Stormers comes and they are extremely competitive. But with all due respect to the rest of the teams, I think it is difficult to go past the top 4.
Yes, but what I mean is, like, maybe you can say the top 4, but if there are 12 teams in the women division, when half of them at least you can call them title contenders, 6 of the teams, I think, around 6. Like you mentioned, JKL, the defending champions, KIU last year's finalists, UCU, JT and KCCA. So 6 teams around can ably compete for the title. We shall try to maybe to talk about their title credentials, but you're not far wide off the mark if you call maybe JT a title contender. We can talk about their limitations, but at least when the season starts, you can mention about 6 teams, which cannot be the same in the men's division. But Franklin, I will not.
I think you're misusing contending. You're calling pretenders to be contenders.
Pretenders to the throne. Yeah, but anyway, you've watched the season so far.
Yes.
As we head to the climax of the first round.
Yeah.
What are some of your key takeaways so far?
I think what everybody else has seen, not just me. I think if you've been watching women's basketball over the past few years, you know that KCCA had gone a notch or two down, and this offseason they seem to do some business that has enabled them to look very, very competitive. And when you talk about challenging for the title, I think they are in there, at least based on the players that they signed and the way they have been playing, of course. So one thing that has really changed this season is that KCCA is back competing again. And that is quite exciting to see, I think. As Arnold head, that was used to KCCA, UCU, and A1 Challenge.
Yes, because they have gone like how many zones? 4 zones without competing in the final, because since they are beaten in the finals 3 in a row by UCU, I think that was around 2017. Since then, I think it has been JKL against UCU and JKL against KIU last season.
Yes.
So it's good to have them back.
Yeah. It's good to have them back in the mix, challenging again, and that is exciting for every basketball fan. The very local basketball fan. I think it is very exciting to have another team coming to put up their hand again, which now makes it, 4 teams that could easily try to challenge JKL. Of course, that doesn't take away the fact that JKL is ahead of the rest of the crop, but at least they can put some competition there. And then the other thing that has, I think, excited me is I'm a big fan of big players, big skilled players, players who understand their strength at some point. And I'm really excited about Sylvia Nantongo of UCU. Yeah. Again, I want to draw a comparison, and I hope people understand. UCU had in the past a player called Rolina Akinyi. I'm not trying to compare Nantongo to Akinyi.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, but if Sylvia Nantongo develops a post game of Rolina Akinyi, of course Rolina Akinyi is an old school post player, and of course Nantongo is a modern big player who can run the transition, who has mastered her range. Her jump shot is quite good. She's good in transition, and she can lay up the ball. For a kid that was in the under-18 team last year, Blake, what she has added just this few months she has been with coaching, I think it is very exciting. I look at her as one of the next big players in this league of ours, and of course the national team as well.
Yes,
she's really exciting.
Yes, I think she started, I think, all the games that she has played for UCU, and given her age and given that she's still learning her trade, and you just have to know how promising she is under Coach Nicholas Natwereza, because if he can trust her to start around 7 games, all the 7 games, you just have to know at least that she's doing some good work. And by the way, you can as well mention the likes of Namale at Nabisunsa. Yes. I'm talking about those junior Gazelles players who have come out and put their hand up in the league. Yeah. You can talk about Miriam Namukwa. Is it Miriam Namukwaya at Miracle? So those are some of the kids that at least have impressed. And there are those two kids at Miracle, at Magic Stormers, sorry.
Stormers,
Yes, one I think is the sister to Daphne, the team captain. But I don't know whether I've had a player that has impressed me that most, but I think I will go with Margaret Bagala. I can see you've already changed the face, but in my opinion, the way she has seamlessly fit into KCC Leopards, coming from a team that was struggling to survive relegation last season, I think averaging double digits this season. I think she's averaging around 15 points. And we are talking about a player 2 seasons back who was playing in the lower division. She came with Kampala University, playing her debut season in the top flight, and she was leading the division in terms of average points scored. And this season, in terms of average points scored, I think she's around the top 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken. She may not be that player that is skilled, but at least in terms of scoring, you know, I think I can compare her with the likes of in football when that debate about Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. Cristiano Ronaldo will always give you the goals. He may not be as talented as the likes of Lionel Messi, but in terms of hard work and doing the basics right. And I think Margaret Bagala, for me, the steals, the passing.
Has she had a 40-point game this season?
I think she has. Maybe against a certain YMCA.
What does that say about the season averages then?
Maybe are you trying to water down her stats, like in terms of stats?
I don't want to look at I don't want to look at the performance of the player based off the season averages.
Yes.
Because that is something. If you played 10 games and you have 3 games of 25, 28 and 40, definitely your averages are going to go a bit up.
Yes,
but I'm not dismissing. I mean your point. That she has impressed you and that, but
yes,
I'm just saying I think using stats as an argument, I think you need to look past
but
the
basketball
averages.
is a game of stats. Yes, and if you look into that, yes, Franklin, yes, she might have maybe not put up big shows against maybe big teams, but you've got to remember that she missed, I think, some big games when she was with the She Cranes in the Vitae Netball Series in UK. But remember, in some of the big games, in some of the big teams that she has faced, there is UCU, and she scored 11 points against them. I think you cannot leave that performance out. She has been, I think, she has been good in my own opinion. She's also still learning the basics of basketball, given that she's completely a netball player and she's a star at that. But the way she's trying to seamlessly fit into a team that's competing for the title, coming from, because we've seen players maybe in football or in any other like in any other sport, it's very easy to put up numbers while you are playing in a team that's not competing for the title, where there is no pressure. But when you come into a bigger team where there is pressure, where you are competing like with better players for starting berths, and you put up quite a show. And I think at KCC, I think she's second in terms of averaging points. I think behind Perusi Nyamwenge.
Who is she competing with at KCC at her position?
No, it cannot be basically about the position, but the players surrounding her.
You see, you need to understand that KCCA doesn't have what you would call scoring guards. Baroteri doesn't want to score. The lady that came from KL Rangers, Ninette, doesn't want to score. Momo was out for a few games. So basically, if you're talking about scoring generally, of course the scoring opportunities are going to come to you because the other players really are not scorers per se.
Yeah, but I know you're trying to water down.
I'm not watering down.
Yes, but the thing is,
watering down the statistics.
Yeah, in my own opinion, she's lived to my expectations, because you can be put up there surrounded by good players. I can give you like another example. You remember Adebayo when he was surrounded by the likes of Hileb, Fabregas, but the guy could only score 1 out of the over 10 chances that he was which were presented to him. So Franklin, maybe which team has not impressed you, depending on what the early expectations you had?
But I thought JT Jaguars, as after what they were last season. I thought this was a season when they would take it a step higher and get to a level where they can now challenge for that title, but they instead fed off, and then of course lost some players along the way, and the recruitment wasn't for a team that wants to be competing for the title. So if there is any sort of letdown in the women's division, I think it's JT Jaguars, at least this season. You could excuse them for whatever breeze or no decision they took, but coming into a game and all you have in a regular season game, all you have available are 7 players, 6 players,
now they
8
have
players.
10.
You know, that is not a sign of a team that really wants to compete.
Yes, and I talked with, should I call him the owner or the director of the club, and he was not talking, and he was not focusing on the title. I don't know, maybe he was trying to cool down the pressure on the team as well, but it's something that I expected, that they will be struggling after maybe sweeping the entire squad. Half of the players, including the experienced Zainalo Kamwera and Morina Moding, I thought that they are going to struggle. And of course, if you look at the additions, they have not lived to the expectations, and you see that Sarah Ageno, who's one of the best players in the league, the best player in my opinion last season in the regular season, I think she's doing a lot of heavy lifting alone, and the rest of the players have not come to the expectations. So in my opinion, I thought that after letting a big chunk of their squad leave, it was going to be very difficult, given the fact that they didn't do well in the transfer season. And so far, I think they have played around 9 games. They have lost 3 of those, and again, it's teams that you think that they are better than them. That is, I think, KIU, which was, I think, their opener. Then they lost to KCC, and I think they lost to UCU as well. So I think, like you said, when you talked about it's only 4 teams that are going to be competing for the title, I think JT, I think that if they don't improve their squad midway through the season, in that mid-season transfer window, I think they will remain best of the rest.
You talk about the players that left, and you included Zain. I had rumors that she was going to.
For Zain, I don't really know the reason as to why she's not playing this season. It might be personal, or it might not be good for us to discuss it here. But she chose to sit out of, I think, the first round. I remember when the teams were registering, Magic Stormers on deadline day, I think, had included her on their roster. But then the following day she was scrapped off. I think it was upon her request. I understand there were requests from a couple of teams, including the former team JKL and I think KCCA, and I think she had also a transfer. There was also a team in Rwanda that wanted her. I think one of the teams, I think she might have played for one of the teams in Rwanda during, I think, one of their competitions in the playoffs. But I think she chose to sit out of the first round, and we just hope that she comes back and compete. Because she's hugely talented, and there is no doubt about that. But for JKL Lady Jaguars, I think if they don't beef up that squad, they'll be as good as maybe the quarterfinals. It will be difficult for them to compete
with one player.
Yeah, I think there are 2
putting in the effort.
Yes, 2. There are, I think, around 2 to 3 good players to compete away from competing with the rest of the big teams in the league. To differ from here, I think the team that has disappointed me, I think, has been Magic Stormers, in my opinion, because I'm not ranking them among the teams that are competing for the title, but I think depending on some of their performances last season, when they managed to come and disturb off some of the big teams. You remember there is that viral video from that later Funday who was him, I think I found him, I don't remember the name, when he came and talked about one of the reasons I think he supports, was it Fulham? No, Aston Villa. Yes, and he said that Aston Villa you able to competing kuchikopo. Abula yeja uzine kuba team enene yamanyo base no lumbala ne delegation ne ko mauneta wanya abantu, and something that I wanted to see from Magic Stormers. They have got a decent squad. The likes of Dafinadong, they have those Annette, Bo players, and Nambirige, Nachito, Momo. She might not be as mobile as she used to be before giving birth, but I think we don't have many big men in the division. And above all, they have one of the best coaches in the division. That's Mape Sajon Omond. But the performances this season have been completely lacking, and that dark horse title I think goes to Miracle Ravens. Not just specifically for beating not for beating KCL Leopards.
A win that excited you.
Yes, and yes, of course, and I predicted it for those who normally read the Sports Nation, for coming up and breaking that unbeaten streak for KCL Leopards. And you remember when they faced, I think, JKL Lady Dolphins, they lost that game by 2 points.
Yes, they were very competitive.
Yes, so for Magic Stormers, I thought that they will be doing things that Miracle are doing at the moment, but it's still very early in the season, they can still improve as well. So Franklin, maybe we talk about the title contention. JKL Lady Dolphins, they are the defending champions, and like you've said, they look heads and shoulders above everyone. They didn't do well in the transfer, but maybe the important business was retaining the core of their squad.
Yes.
They only added, I think, was Tamasha Nsubga from Nabisunsa. Like expectedly, she was not going to come direct and fit into the starting team because of the quality of the team. But they are still unbeaten. I think they have won 6 out of 6, if I'm not mistaken. So far, how have you seen them?
JKL, I think one of the things that freedom understood is the importance of maintaining the core of your team over a period of time. The disappointment in losing the championship 2 years ago
against UCU,
when they were in control, I think that rained down on them so good that they were not as good as they say these days. So I think what has happened is that they have taken it a notch that, look, we're going to have the core of these players, and this core has to keep delivering. And the good thing is that each and every one of them, especially the young ones, they keep improving with every other season. You look at how, of course, we have known has very good on controlling play and all that, but you look at how Nachinji plays this season, you know, how she comes on and then changes the entire complexity of the game. It takes you to a point where you want to be that this season things have to be so bad. It has to be an act of God for JKL not to retain the championship. Really, they are looking good, at least with how they have started the season and how they are playing, you know. But of course, JKL aside, one of the teams that you can never ever write off is UCU.
Yeah, but before we reach to UCU, before we talk about other contenders to JKL's throne, maybe what do you think are their limitations this season?
JKL, I think one of the limitations, which has been, of course, around for a while, is that Becky Longom and Hope Akelo, if any of them is not showing up, there's going to be some struggle down the post, because you're not going to be taking up the fouls alone. But the pair of those two basically pick all the rebounds that they're supposed to pick, offensive and defensive, and the fact that Becky Longom has gotten into this type of player that is extremely dependable. You know, the only reason you can have a chance against JKL is probably having one of the front court players out of the game. But it is very difficult to look at a weakness in JKL at this point. Really.
But in my opinion, I think they lack maybe at times their bench doesn't show up outside the starters, like 5 or 6 outside Flash, Ivrin, Becky, Imani, and those starting players.
Yeah, about 7.
But when you look at their bench, I think at times they have failed to show up, like I said. Grant, then Toskin, those 2 players who have been around the team. I think they graduated from the academy, then Letitia Hall, and I think Tamasha Sobga, I don't want to ask much from her, but at times when you compare, like for KCCA, which I think we'll discuss at a later stage on this show, I think they still lack that quality in
depth
their
in
bench.
strength.
Yes, depth in strength or quality in their depth, quite in depth. But outside their strong starting 5 and I think they are 6th man. Outside those, I think they will still struggle on their bench, and I think UCU utilized that 2 seasons back, and I think Coach Nick had some good rotation during those finals, and he managed to surprise them. I don't think it showed up last season, because for KIU, after winning that game, was it game 1 at YMCA when Perus Nyamwenge won it with that 3-point to win, I think by a point. The rest, I think they just won by a gentleman's sweep, like we want to call that. But we've not seen much of JKL this season, because I think they have played only 6 games. They still have to play Jetty. They still have some, I think around 5 games they still have to play. But then we go to other title contenders. Which team, because last season it was KIU who pushed them in the final, which team do you think you should at least count and say, this is the team I think that if there is any chance JKL are going to lose their title, it should be against this team?
Many people are looking at KCCA, but
obviously.
I think I trust UCU more. I think I trust UCU more.
Seriously?
Yes. I think I trust UCU more to unseat, if there is a chance to unseat JKL, than I trust KCCA. The performance of KCCA could make someone think that they are the direct competitors of JKL, but in my opinion, I feel by the business side, by the business end of the season, I think these young UCU players
will improve with time.
They'll be ready. Of course, you cannot ask much of them, but I think if there's anyone who's going to suck all the basketball there is out of a player, I think it's Nick Napelza. You expect that UCU to be very, very competitive when playoffs come. Yeah, so if there is any team that is going to, teams that are going to challenge JKL, it has to be UCU and KCCA.
Yes, and I think they retained. They still have some players who were there last season, like Tracy, Azida,
Shakira is there as well.
Hajala, Bridget Abel. So I think they can build around that. Then also Shilala Munu. You talked about Silvia, who has been one of the revelation of the season. So and you cannot count out any team coached by Nicholas Ndatwereza, by the way. I think, like you've said, they will improve with time, and you cannot count them out. But in my own opinion, I think I'll trust Rogers Selunyugo's KCCA. The quality, what they did in the transfer, adding Morina Moding, Perus Nyamwenge, Wineza Ninet, both of those last 2 from KIU, and then Margaret Vagala. I think even the other netballers, Farida, Asina, I think they're also doing very well. I think
Asina is probably one of the best. She could be the best addition. That,
in your own opinion?
Yes.
Ahead of Perus and Maggie?
I'm talking about best, not in terms of playing. but based in terms of importance.
Well, yeah, what they needed.
Importance. What she
needed.
brings to that team.
Yes, and I think unlike the past 2 seasons, I think Balotelli has stepped up her game. Maybe because of the availability. She may not give you the other Balotelli which we knew in the past, but for now I think she has, I think you
matured,
can,
if you say.
Yes, and there is some conviction. There are still limitations with her, given that she's a guard and she basically wants to facilitate and she doesn't want to attack the hoop, and at times that pisses me off, by the way. But I think KCC are best suited in my own opinion.
That's why you're not a coach.
Don't go there. But like in my own opinion, I think they are best suited in terms of the quality they have in the squad. Well-funded team, of course, that matters a lot, and
for girls,
the experience they have, having been reached there, won the league, and so. But we've not talked about how good Martha Soigi is. She's been there before, and she remains one of the most consistent players they have in the league. Then, in my opinion, I think I front KCCA above everyone to compete for the title, to compete for what you can call JKL's crown. Then we've discussed, I think, UCU and JT Jaguars, and then last year's finalists. KIU Rangers. They started the season missing after letting go or losing the 2 players who joined KIU, that is Perus and Wineza. Then the other big man, was it from Congo, Botswana, whatever. Docas Maronbela. She also left the team. So far, how do you rate their performance? I think they have lost around how many? 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, when you lose your most important players, okay, in your best ever season in the division, I think that says a lot, and you don't replace them with the same quality or players who are of the near quality. You're always going to struggle. You don't expect KIU Rangers to go past the first round, honestly.
The first round of the playoffs,
it might be difficult.
They might finish around 3rd and get like a certain miracle magic stormers.
You just said miracle is
yeah, but you never know.
Anyway, but here's the thing. I think right now, if you're talking with all due respect to the rest of the players at KIU, I think there are really 2 players that will walk into another of the top 3 teams and start right away. And that is the small forward, who everybody knows, who I think she could be also on her way to college.
Yeah, Rosemary Amanio.
She could be on her way to college as well. I think as the player who says is going to deliver for KIU, if she doesn't deliver, then it is struggles all around the place. And then Sharon is one of the most inconsistent players.
The way she misses those easy layups, I don't know.
Very, very inconsistent. There is a game that Sharon is going to play, and you say, now this is one of the best players we have in the league. And then there are games when she's not going to show up at all, and missing easy baskets, and that happens more often than when she has the good games. And for a team that wants to compete, you can't have one of your top players doing that.
The addition of Elizabeth Agut.
Elizabeth came from Angels.
The team that was not competing for anything.
It is very difficult to look okay, not that disrespecting Angels in a way, but if Elizabeth comes in and she's your replacement for
Inez or Perus?
For Perus. You know you have gone down about three steps with all due respect. So KIU is not going to be competing or challenging. Okay, they are going to be competing, but they are not going to be challenging for the title for sure.
And they have like a couple of 4 to 5 net bowlers, starting with the guard Fildaus Namleme. She's very industrious. She's doing quite good, but the 2 Nanyongas and then Namfuka And then Namulumba, I think at times, yes, they don't get enough minutes, but even when they're given minutes, at times they don't.
They don't have the basketball skills.
Yes, they don't have the basketball skills like you've said it. But then, which teams should we also talk about in terms of title contentions? And those enough?
I mean, those are teams. Of course, JKL, top of the pile. Okay, KCCA, UCU,
KIU, JT.
KIU, JT.
Then the other dark horses, Miracle Ravens.
I would like you to explain to me if you have seen a dark horse in our league have a miracle happen.
Yes, I don't want to gauge Miracle Ravens as a team that's going to compete for the title, but I fancy them to have a deep run in the playoffs, like going past the first hurdle. I think they have what it takes in terms of the players they have, promising. Akelo, is it Akelo? Yeah. Yes, Akelo, Mariam, Brenda, Ariano, they have some good players, and I think on a good day, they can surprise any of the big teams like you've seen against.
Brenda is going to play isolation the entire 40 minutes.
Like you've seen against what they did against KCCA Leopards. I think they will improve with time, but I talked about my disappointments with Magic Stormers, UPDF Lady Tomahawks. I think they will be playing to survive for the season. They are not going to be fighting for against relegation. I think they are good enough to stay, given the way the other teams are performing.
And
YMCA and Kampala University. I think YMCA with a couple of some of those which I can call Kenyan players, I think they will compete. They have some good size with that team. And but with Nabi Sunsa and Kampala University, because Kampala University, as we speak now, they are going to be playing Magic Stormers. I don't think that they will win that game, and it is going to be very difficult for them to win any game this season. It's going to be very difficult, and with the way I see them playing, it's very difficult to think that this team really trains. Outside their guard, is it she called Nachimori?
Yes,
the rest of the players
they just come on game day and
yes, and just suit up and play. So in my opinion, I think they're just going to
as
be
good as
fighting to survive the season. Yes, they managed to survive last season, but this season it's going to be very difficult. I know
should we say they survived because of your star player?
Yes, because of Magibagala and Maseba Tamuriza. By the way, we've talked about some of the players that have improved, and maybe those that have put up good shows. I think Masa has been doing well with Jetty, yes, with Jetty Lady Jaguars. I think she's leading the division in terms of rebounding. Yes. So in your, like, I'm going to put you on the spot to make some predictions about three in terms of title, who's going to be relegated, and who you think who will be the MVP for the regular season. Just your predictions in the women competitions.
I think JKL will be champions again.
Just in the regular season.
Regular season.
Yeah.
Okay. Regular season. I think JKL will top the division. Will be number one.
Going throughout unbeaten.
Maybe they'll be challenged, but they might go unbeaten. They'll be challenged. I think they'll lose a game or two, but they'll be at the top of the pile at the end of the regular season, because you don't want to be in a position where you're going to play UCU at the semi-finals and play KCC at the finals. You don't want to be in that position where you're going to be playing only competition, because the moment you finish second, it means you have to play both of them. That is if they finish 1, 2, 3 in that order. No survival for Kampala University and probably Nabisunsa. MVP. Who is the MVP currently?
Remember during the launch of the unveiling of the Bet Power Football press conference when Brian Tuka, who was the MC of the dance, of course he had to make sure that he tells everyone that Opakelo is the best player in the division. Yeah,
of course, no caps to that. She's head and shoulder above of everybody else in the league. Who is the MVP? I could believe that. I will excuse myself from that.
I won't look beyond Morina Moding. Yes, she's missed a couple of games, but I think, like I saw her play again against Magic Stormers on Saturday when she returned from that injury she got against UCU. And I think if she continues with that performance, I think she's going to be the MVP in the division. I can speak with authority on that.
Do you have a vote? Do you have a vote on the MVP?
I don't have, but like I always trust my instincts.
Okay.
And then I think we are not going to go beyond that. Thank you, Franklin Kaweru, for coming through once again. And then for all our those viewers, we thank you for sparing time and agree to spend your data on us. Continue to subscribe on the Sports Nation TV. Like we told you, we have many shows that are coming up. You saw that interview where Ronnie Santos. Did you watch that one, by the way?
So I think that's Mumbozi. That is one of the best Mumbozis that you have.
Yeah, you're into. And many are coming. So we thank you to walking this good journey with us. Thank you and have the best of the weekend.